Okay, this is lab 15.6 that is titled Forces Acting on Moving Objects. This is not a lab that we actually physically conducted in class, but it's one that we spent some time talking through so that you would understand the concepts and be able to apply them on our test this week. So, if you read through the first paragraph, it's pretty clear what the purpose of the lab is. Basically, what we're going to be looking at is applying forces to objects that are already moving, and kind of what happens. Will the object, what will the motion look like after the force ends? Will it slow down? Will it change direction? Kind of what's going on. So in the past, so far in this chapter, we've looked at, understanding net force and balanced forces and forces that are unbalanced and the results of different forces acting on objects that were stationary. Now we're going to be looking at how forces will affect objects that are in motion. So in order to understand how this whole thing is going to play out, you need to understand the setup. So basically what they would have us use is a very smooth platform with a very smooth puck, with two very smooth surfaces. And you guys have a pretty good understanding about how surface type will affect friction. With these two very smooth surfaces, it's going to really reduce the amount of friction between the two objects. But it doesn't completely reduce friction. There's always friction between objects that are in contact with each other, no matter what, regardless of how smooth they are. So that's why we have this little fancy contraption, this balloon, attached to the puck. So let me show you how we would set this up. What we would start with would be the puck that has a hole in the middle, and then we would have a stopper. You guys are familiar with these. The stopper would have a hole through the center of it. We'd put the skinny end of the stopper through the puck, and then we would take the balloon and put the balloon around the fat end of the stopper. Then we would take the straw and put it in the skinny end of the stopper and blow through the straw to blow up the balloon. Then we would be left with this, the puck with the balloon attached to it. Now what would happen is the balloon would, of course, start releasing air through the stopper. But that really small, narrow opening in the stopper is only going to let a little bit of air out at a time. So as the air is coming through the stopper, it's creating a little bit of space between the puck and the platform. So it's like an air pocket, if you will. The air is coming out of the balloon, and it's creating basically an air pocket or air space between the puck and the platform, which again will allow there to be very little, hopefully no, friction at all. So as we're looking at the motion of the puck, we're looking at the motion of the puck basically in a frictionless type of environment. So in the absence of friction, what will happen to the motion of the puck as we apply different forces to it? So that's basically what we're doing in this particular lab. So most of this on the next page just talks you through how to set everything up to get all the equipment working properly and through here. And then when we get to this part here that says have your lab partner, now we're at the part where we have our first step. So what I did was I gave all the students in class a copy of the platform, I guess if you want to call it that. There's two diagrams so that we can kind of draw on it and see what would happen to the puck, and this would give you some data to take with you to study from. And if you notice, this obviously matches the picture that's on the platform. The picture on the platform is really meant to give you some reference for the direction of the puck. So if the puck basically stays going this way, you can compare that to the straight line, and you could probably say the puck is moving in a straight line. If the puck tends to kind of veer in this direction off of the straight line, then you also have a reference point to say that the direction is changing. So these lines on this little diagram will give us a reference point to describe the motion and the direction of the puck. So the first thing says to have your lab partner place the center of the air puck at the point where the outer circle crosses the straight line running along the length of the platform, which is basically right about here, if you can see the picture in the book. So they would have us start here, or maybe if you look in this picture, kind of right on the edge. And then it says he or she, meaning your lab partner, can then tap the puck lightly with one finger, just a quick little tap, so that it moves very slowly towards the center of the circular pattern. So just a very quick, brief tap on the puck to get it to start moving. So the puck's going to then move in that direction. The first question says, does the puck move at a constant speed? Before we answer that, it's important to talk about the speed. Speed is definitely, it's actually a calculation in our case. We'd have to measure the distance that the puck was traveling, and then we'd also have to measure the amount of time it took for the puck to move from point A to point B across the board. And then to figure out if the speed was constant, we'd have to measure at different intervals to see if along the way the speed of the puck is staying constant. So there's a lot of actual measurements and calculations that would go into numerically deciding if this was a constant speed or not. So we're not doing that in this lab. We're not actually going to use quantitative data. We're basically just going to use our observational skills to see if it appears that the puck is moving at a constant speed. So this question really probably would be better if it said, does the puck appear to move at a constant speed? In this case, yes, the puck would definitely appear to move at a constant speed. And the reason is this: in the absence of friction, there would be nothing to get in the way of the puck to slow it down. So if we just tap it lightly, it's going to move in a constant speed in a constant direction, because there's no friction between the puck and the table. Now, some of you might look at this and go, but what about the air resistance in the balloon? Obviously, that would be a factor as well. This lab really, hopefully, should demonstrate the motion of the puck in a frictionless environment. So even though in reality there would be some air resistance pushing against the balloon, we're going to sort of, for the purpose of this lab, just pretend that that's not happening, so that we're just looking at the puck itself. And if there's that little air pocket between the puck and the platform, then there's no friction. And then if we just apply a little bit of force to the puck will move at a constant speed in a constant direction. So that's hopefully what we would observe at this point. Yes, the puck would move at a constant speed in a constant direction with just one small application of force. Then the next procedural step would be, it says, just as the puck reaches the center, hit it with a single short, strong puff of air and watch what happens. What they really would have us do is to take the straw and to blow through the straw, just a single brief puff of air directly at the puck. So here's where the diagrams come into play. If the puck started here at the edge and I applied a little tap, it would move in this direction at a constant speed, going in the same direction. So right about the time that the puck is here, moving in this direction, they would have us, if you read the first blue dot, they would have us apply a short puff of air in the direction opposite to the puck's direction of motion. So that would be a person kind of down at at level with the puck with their straw, blowing a brief, quick puff of air in the exact opposite direction of the puck. So in a direction opposite to the puck's direction of motion. So it would look like this. So this line would represent the puff of air. Now, I am definitely not being true to scale in terms of the proportionality of those two forces. This force would be much greater, and this force would be much less, because a single puff of air, no matter how strong you apply that puff of air, it's not going to be a very strong force. And the momentum behind the speed of the puck, and the puck is, it's pretty dense, there's going to be a lot more force associated with this moving puck than with this brief puff of air. So those two lines do not show proportionality at all. That is just meant to show you guys the direction. So this question says, so if I do this, if I apply a force with a single short puff in a direction opposite to the puck's direction of motion, what happens to the speed of the puck? Well, the puck will slow down. Maybe not a lot. It might not even be completely obvious just by looking at it, but a small force acting in the opposite direction will serve to slow down the puck. The puck will not stop, and the puck will not change direction. That puff of air is not strong enough to do that. So in this instance, in this case, this puff of air will serve to slow down the speed of the puck. The next blue dot is a follow-up to that. It says, after the puff is over, does the speed of the puck continue to change, or does the puck move at a constant speed? So what it's asking is, once this puff of air hits the puck and it slows down, will it continue to get slower and slower and slower and slower and slower? Or will it slow down and then move at a new constant rate of speed, which is slower than the original rate of speed? The answer is it will move at a constant rate of speed. Now, it's not the same constant rate of speed initially, because now we've slowed it down. But what will happen is the puff of air will slow it down, and now it'll just be moving at a new, slower rate of speed. And the reason that the speed is constant is because there's no other forces acting on this puck. Nothing to get in its way, no friction, nothing to slow it down. So once that one puff of air has been applied and then it's removed and that force is gone, the puck slows down because of the puff of air, and then will continue to move at that constant, slower rate of speed. The next one says, what happens when you apply a force to the puck with a single short puff in the same direction that it's already moving? So now we come over here and we apply a puff of air in this direction. Puff of air. So it says what happens? Well, I think as logic would have it, and you're pretty logical people, applying a force in the same direction as the motion of the puck will cause it to get a little bit faster. Again, the puff of air is not this huge, tremendous force that's going to have this outrageous effect on the speed of the puck, but it will speed it up a little bit. It's enough to make it go a little faster. So forces that are acting in the same direction will serve to speed up the object that's moving. So this force going in the same direction will make it go faster. When this puff is over, does the speed of the puck continue to change, or does the puck move at a constant rate? So what it's saying is once I have a puff of air going in the same direction, we know it's going to get faster. Will it continue to get faster and faster and faster and faster and faster? Or will it move at a new constant rate of speed, which is a little bit faster than just before the puff of air? Again, it will move at a constant rate of speed, which is a little bit faster than before we applied that force. So we apply a brief puff of air, it speeds it up, and now it's going to move at that new rate of speed that's a little bit faster than before. Again, the reason it's not going to get faster and faster and faster and faster is because we'd have to be applying a continual amount of force nonstop to keep it going faster and faster and faster and faster. We'd have to keep applying puff after puff after puff after puff of air to make it go faster and faster and faster. So the one puff of air speeds it up for that instant, and then it's going to remain constant from that point on. These types of forces that act in a line are called collinear. Yes, there are two L's, and no, I don't know why. There just are. I think of it like this. Co meaning to share, linear meaning a line. So these forces all share the same line. So whether it's going in the exact opposite direction of the object's motion or with the object's motion, acting in a line like this means they're collinear. So collinear forces acting on an object in motion will cause the object to change its speed. So an object that's already in motion, if there's a collinear force applied to it, this object's motion will change. I'm sorry, the object's speed alone, not direction. That puff will keep moving in this direction. This puff of air will just serve to slow it down, but it'll still go in that direction. This puff of air will serve to speed it up, again continuing along that same line. The next one, the next little procedural part says, now apply a puff at an angle to the motion of the puck. So that's what the second diagram is for. So if the puck is here, and the puck is moving in this direction, we're going to apply a force at an angle to the puck. And then it's saying, so what would happen? So if we apply a puff at an angle, like I showed you, the question is, do the direction of motion and the speed of the puck change? So if we apply a force going this way to an object moving this way, that force will cause the puck to change its direction of motion and its speed. So we can say, let's see, forces acting at an angle. Sorry, there's not a fancy word like collinear. This one is just forces acting at an angle. So whether it's at an angle this way, the direction will kind of curve to the left a little bit. If the force is acting at an angle this way, it'll cause it to kind of curve to the right a little bit. This way will cause it to kind of curve left. This way will cause it to kind of, this one will cause it to kind of curve right, and this one will cause it to curve to the left. So forces acting at an angle change both the speed and the direction. Now, sometimes, depending on the exact angle and the exact strength of the force, sometimes it'll be just enough force to change its direction, but its speed will stay constant. It just kind of depends on the strength of the force. But forces acting at an angle will always change the direction, and usually it'll change the speed as well. The last two blue dots then ask about, once it's changed, it says after the puff is over, does the speed of the puck continue to change, or does the puck move at a constant speed? This is exactly like the two before this that ask about if its speed continues to change or if it stays at a constant speed. Once that puff is over, so apply a quick puff at an angle, the speed will change but then remain constant, just like it did up here. And then it says after the puff is over, does the direction continue to change? No, the direction will change based on that puff of air. And then as soon as the puff is over, now it's going to move in a straight line at that point going forward. So if it turns like this, if this puff of air hits the puck going this way, let's just say it kind of curves and goes this way. Once that puff is over, now it'll continue on in a straight line like that. So it won't continue to change direction. If it was going to continue to change direction, you would need to keep hitting it with more and more and more puffs of air. You'd have to keep applying forces to it to keep its direction changing. But we just apply one quick puff of air, one quick force, it changes the direction, and then it's going to keep going straight from there on out. So the speed and the direction will both change and then remain constant. And that's our lab. That's 15.6. What we're going to do in class on Tuesday is to take this particular lab and then apply it to our reading in 15.7, which is Newton's first law of motion. And I think that you'll see once we do the reading that this lab ties together quite nicely with Newton's first law of motion. And that is it.